My next guest is making current events relevant and readable for any group of students. Newsela provides versions of current published articles rewritten to a range of reading skills from third grade through high school. This technology is changing the engagement experience among elementary and students of all ages. Jennifer Coogan is the Chief Content Officer at Newsela. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. Tell me a little bit about Newsela.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. So Newsela was started to address a very fundamental problem, which is how do we get kids to become better readers? A lot of people think that reading is something that you just learn in first grade and then you're a reader and there's no further instruction needed. But the same way that math instruction doesn't stop after you teach a kid arithmetic, reading is something that needs to be trained throughout a student's academic career. But it's a hard problem to address because there's a range of abilities in any given classroom, and it's hard to get kids engaged in reading. So we think our solution addresses both of those problems.
I've read over your website. I looked at your video. It's fascinating stuff you're doing. It's starting to suggest to me that a deficient reader can take a subject of interest and excel and make up for, shall I say, years of deficient training and skill sets in reading. My first question really about this is there a restriction or a selection of subjects that Newsela addresses?
The kind of subjects when we look for stories, we always think first, what's the engagement hook of this topic? Because that's the most important thing, especially when you're dealing with struggling readers, is there going to be something that the student can relate to, where the student can see the connection to the real world.
Does a teacher pre-select the subjects?
The teacher can. We like to make this a flexible product so that the teacher can choose to assign one article to all of their students in the class, and they can let the software serve the student the level that's appropriate for them. Some teachers like to let the students pick any article in the archive. Some will focus on science and let the students choose from there.
Do you see any tendencies? I mean, I think you're dealing with students at all levels, both at skill at the current level and then certainly below the current skill, and maybe some of them more advanced. Do you see any patterns in their engagement with the Newsela process?
The thing that surprised us most is how students are very interested in reading serious news about kids. So we have a category called kids, and it's not what you'd expect. It's not simple stories of Timmy and his 400-pound turtle. It's more stories about education policy, kids living in poverty, kids overseas, maybe growing up in wartime conditions. And those are the stories that are definitely the most gripping, especially for struggling readers.
So we've seen stories of children in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and in various countries in Eastern Europe, the Crimea area and what's going on there. And you're suggesting that there's a sensitivity to the plight of another child by a young reader.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get a kid to care about the war in Syria, showing them a story about how there are students who haven't gone to school for 3 years, that's an amazing hook that is approachable. It's a real entry point to explain a rather complex topic. I mean, they might not even know what the word Syria signifies, but understanding that there are children out there who want to go to school and who can't because of a very significant reason, that's a way to bridge that gap.
I have the impression, I'd love to have you validate this, it just broadens their horizon and broadens their vocabulary and their understanding, which has then carryover effects, that now they have a vocabulary that gets into other subjects.
Absolutely. A lot of our content is linked, either in the geography or in the vocabulary that it uses. If we're using a lot of policy speak or themes such as the theme of children not being able to go to school. They can read a story that takes place in Syria, and then they can try another one about students from Fukushima, and kind of connect the dots that way.
You also measure your articles with a, if I may quote it right, a Lexile reading level.
So the Lexile measures, it's a scale of reading a text complexity that teachers are pretty familiar with. There's other scales out there, but that's one that's become pretty well adopted across the country. So a teacher sees this number that's represented as it could be something like 400L or 900L, and that gives a teacher a pretty good idea of where the article stands relative to their grade level.
But you provide that same article at different levels.
At different Lexile levels,
So if I'm a low reader, low-skilled reader, in 4th grade, I can read at a 2nd grade level or maybe a 3rd grade level, get going.
Yeah, you might read it at the 500L level and then take another look at it. Once you've absorbed the content, maybe try reading it at the 800L level.
You must have some interesting stories of progress and achievement. Anything you can bring about or share with us?
Well, one really nice letter I got was from North Carolina, from a teacher there who said that where she teaches, most of her students have never even left the county, let alone North Carolina, or especially not the United States. Maybe some of them never would, but they were really captivated by the story of these Nigerian schoolgirls who were kidnapped by Boko Haram. And they were talking about Nigeria, and they wrote to us and asked us for more news about that. So we went on and published more stories. But it showed how once you give them an entry point, it's a great way to kind of kindle a love of reading.
So for a person interested in Newsela, do you just go to the website, www.newsela.com, sign up as an individual parent or as a student? How does this work?
So all of the content is freely available. You can register as a parent in your case, or any teacher can register themselves and have their class sign up and use all the content for free. We have a paid product as well, which allows the teacher to administer the quizzes and assign articles.
There are quizzes?
Yes, there's quizzes with the articles.
Really?
Yeah.
And the quizzes are evaluated and marked, and you ranked, and how well did you understand an article?
Right. So the students are taking quizzes that are testing them along various Common Core standards.
I see.
And so with Newsela Pro, what a teacher gets is all the reporting on how their students are doing vis-a-vis the different Common Core standards.
You have some schools up and running using this. Are they here in California, Northern California, or are they in different parts of the country?
We have more than 15,000 teachers and students signing up every school day.
You do.
And then I would say that we've got well over 50,000 schools nationwide using Newsela. And have users in 80 countries.
That's remarkable. But you are taking other articles and republish it, correct?
Yeah. So I get the opportunity to curate the news.
Oh, I see. So you actually select what's going to be, shall we say, presentable, palatable, make good sense, interesting, and do your interests align with the students?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm still a student at heart. So
you're still a student at heart. That's great. That's great. So what are the challenges? You've got this high growth company. You must be going very, very busy every day. Tell me the challenges of doing this.
So, well, one very specific challenge we have right now is that we're getting a lot of people writing to us and asking, why don't you have this in other languages?
Oh, really?
Namely Spanish. So I think that'll be one of the first challenges that we try to tackle.
Do you have any critics of this system?
I was really surprised that when we started doing this, I thought, I bet some of my journalism colleagues are going to come out of the woodwork and say, how dare you take our reporting and our fine writing and try and dumb it down or simplify it. And I've been very pleasantly surprised that that's never happened. It's never happened.
So there are subjects for schools that are controversial. We'll say politics could be considered somewhat controversial. Do you have to filter a balanced side, or do you present both sides? We had a conversation earlier. You stressed how important it is that today's students be exposed to two opinions on a side. That an article not be one-sided. It's obviously persuasive that they develop the mindset to look at both sides of the issue.
Yeah, they definitely need to be trained to distinguish fact reporting from argumentation. They need to be able to discern bias. So for that reason, we do like to present them with point-counterpoint articles. They're among our most popular articles. But when it comes to touchy issues or controversy, we're actually surprised to find that teachers have been demanding that kind of content.
Really?
Yeah, they don't shy away from it. They, you know, for a teacher teaching a room full of ninth graders who are reluctant readers, the one way to really, you know, turn on the fire, get the juices flowing, is to pick a topic that is controversial and edgy and very relevant.
Can I ask you what's a controversial, edgy topic?
I think one that they, one of the pro-cons that was very popular was about, you know, the war. Are we spending too much. On the war in Iraq or, you know, Afghanistan? Was that a mistake? And then you know, topics that hit much closer to home.
I'm going to touch on it. What about gay marriage? Should they read about gay marriage?
Yeah, we've definitely published that, and
that's a pretty controversial
surprised.
Topic.
Yeah, I was surprised that we didn't hear more complaints about it.
Yeah. Did you get some?
Oh, a few, you know, odd comments here and there. Although, if I get a letter that says you should not have published this, and then I get another letter that says, why don't you publish this more often, or there's a paucity of this kind of news, then I think we're in the right spot.
It seems to me, in my limited perspective, that bringing these issues to light versus keeping them hidden away is by far the better, more enlightened way to have a decision and a debate about them. Whether you like them or not, let's put them into the open. And it sounds like that's what you're attempting to do.
Yeah, I think teachers are, they face these issues every day, especially teachers in urban areas or rural areas. You know, they know what 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds are thinking about, and they want to meet them where they are.
So what are the plans now? We're in late 2014. What do the next 12 months look like for Newsela and your role?
So I think the big thing is we want to meet the demand that we're getting. A lot of teachers have been asking us, this is wonderful, but I wish I could use it for my second graders. Or this is wonderful, but I wish I could use it for my English as a second language students. So we're going to focus our energies on trying to fulfill those requests.
Another thought that just occurred to me as you're talking now, not all states have adopted Common Core.
That's right.
And not all teachers are happy about the Common Core. So are you seeing, shall I say, resistance, or are you seeing engagement without even teachers realizing that they're participating in Common Core?
Right. I mean, Texas has not adopted the Common Core, and we have lots of users there. So, you know, I think the fact of the matter is when it comes to the English language arts standards, they're pretty universal. You know, kids need to know how to discern what's the main idea in something that they read. And regardless of whether or not you're participating in the Common Core, that's something that you want for your students. It's something that'll serve them in college and their career.
So Jennifer, let me really thank you for coming on the show. We're very impressed with you and Newsela, and we wish you every success in the future. And we'd like to hear back from you maybe in 6 months to 10 months and see what's going on.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is Jim Connor. I'd like to thank you for joining us for this week's version of Game Changers, Silicon Valley. Each week we will address a new area, a new topic with innovators and game changers. We look forward to your interest and your participation in future shows. Thank you very much. Good night now.